Hello! You already save a lot of money every year thanks to our videos, so save on car parts too. Buy them on the Mr. Auto app. Shipping is free.
Turn your engine off and pull up the handbrake. Lift the logo on the radiator grille, insert the key to release and open the bonnet. Open the brake fluid reservoir. In order to change the brake discs and brake pads on your vehicle, you will have to raise the front of the car and take off the wheels. This will provide you with full access to the brake discs. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels, raise the front of the vehicle, and put in the 2-axle stands. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely before carrying out this step. You will then be able to take off the wheels. Don't forget to slide them under the vehicle. Turn the disc outwards. This will facilitate the process. Using a flathead screwdriver, lift the holding springs on the pads, then take it out. Make sure you keep a finger on the spring during the operation to avoid it jumping out. Insert a flathead screwdriver to the outer extremity of the oblong hole located on the front of the brake caliper. Lift it off using the screwdriver as a lever by pulling it towards you. This will then push the piston in. Don't hesitate to push the screwdriver further in once the space between the pad and the caliper allows. Ensure that you have pushed the piston in as far as possible before moving on to the next operation. Using a thin flathead screwdriver, remove the caps covering the caliper mounting bolts. Using a socket wrench and a 7mm Allen socket undo the 2 caliper mounting bolts. Remove the brake caliper. Attach a piece of electrical cable or a piece of string to one of the coils on the suspension spring. To avoid damaging the brake hose, attach it to the suspension using a cable you have already attached. You can now remove the pads. Using a wire brush, clean the brake caliper mount around the area where the pads will be placed. This will facilitate their installation. Using a socket wrench and a 15mm socket, unscrew the 2 holding screws on the brake caliper mount. Depending on the state of the nuts of the brake caliper mount, it may be necessary to use a hammer to loosen them. To save time, finish the removal by hand. Take the disc off. Finish removing the disc holding screws and take the disc off. Sometimes the disc can get stuck on the hub. If this happens, use a hammer to remove it. You have to clean the hub with a wire brush. Coat it with copper grease. This will help avoid deterioration caused by oxidation and aid with future interventions. Before putting the new disc in place, it is vital to clean it using a brake cleaner and paper towels to take off the storage paraffin. If your new disc is painted, you can place it directly onto the wheel hub. Place the new disc onto the hub. Coat the brake caliper screws with copper grease. Put the brake caliper mount back on, screwing it by hand to begin with, and finish with a socket wrench and a 15mm socket to fix it completely. Coat the outside of the new pads with copper grease. Position the outside pad in its housing. Then remove the brake caliper and put the pad on the piston side in the brake caliper. Put the brake caliper in place on the brake caliper mount, pushing it in as far as possible. Grease the 2 caliper mounting bolts, then screw them back in place, ensuring that they're properly in their housing. Finish screwing with a socket wrench and a 7mm Allen socket. Put the caps back in place, clipping them in as you do so. Put back in place the holding springs on the pads. You can use a screwdriver to help you. Ensure that the spring is fully inserted into the hole. Don't forget to withdraw the electrical cable or string that you attached to hold the caliper. You can now repeat the operation on the other side. Put the wheels of your vehicle back on and lower it to the ground. Before starting your car, don't forget to screw the brake fluid stopper back in. Be careful. Before using your vehicle again, start your car and pump the brake pedal a few times to bring the brake pads together again. Try to drive smoothly and avoid sudden braking for the first 50 kilometres or so to avoid glazing the new pads. Operation completed.